WTF moments on paternity court.
I never used a condom with Nathaniel. Why would I get on national TV and say I never used a condom?
Wait, I thought you said you knew because the other guy had a vasectomy.
People lie.
Yes! Yes!
Ma'am.
Didn't I tell
You need to be respectful.
Didn't I tell you?
Entangled in the love of an older man, Miss Moyet wasn't only left with a broken heart, but also with the responsibility of taking care of the child on her own. Baby daddy, on the other hand, is in it just for play and not the pay. Awkward situation, right? Well, let's see how things unfold for this duo.
Besides the fact of 3 cases of diapers, a onesie that he bought for her, which was a boy outfit. Other than that, me and my mother have been providing for her food, milk, and everything and things like I have been buying, providing clothes, food, crib. We've had sex, and I don't know why you're lying.
Not a promising state for Nyla. Well, Mr. Lester believes that Nyla isn't his. And such situations, people do tend to act this way, which made the judge ask the defendant how he could be so sure.
Is that true?
Yes, that's true. Yesterday we did have sex. That is true.
Oh, if it's all in her imagination, then why are you making babies with her? Mr. Lester, you could not only fool enough to fall prey to a too young girlfriend, but the guy was not using any protection either. And we all know how such actions call for.
And
Yesterday when you had sex, did you use protection?
Yeah.
No.
Iris.
Your Honor, I have no reason to lie. I planned this. I wanted to be with him.
What she's saying is you were having unprotected sex with her then. Even since this child's birth, you're still having unprotected sex with her.
Yeah, that is a very good way of becoming a potential father to a child, now ain't it? And what did Mr. Lester argue? Well, he doesn't want to be a father. Hello, mister, things don't work like that in the real world.
Became more obsessed. Every time she expressed how much she cared for me and how much she wanted to be in a relationship, I expressed how much I didn't want. And I never misled Miss Moyet or anybody when I told her that this was strictly about sex.
Now that's just playing with someone's feelings. Why keep feeding young girls emotions when you're just going to abandon her like that? And if you think that we're kind of overstating, listen to how this toxic dynamic had affected the baby mama.
It's not the best as far as me and my father. Him coming along, being older, being what I wanted from my father, I clung to that. When you're with someone every single day and you're at his house every single day, how are we not together? How are we not boyfriend and girlfriend? And my mother could contest to that.
Tragically, the plaintiff knew that her obsession had led to Nyla being fatherless. And with not protecting herself, she had brought the baby to a vulnerable place. But now, there was no option but to come forward with the truth.
I never used a condom with Nathaniel. Why would I get on national TV and say I never used a condom? That's not a good thing.
Indeed, not a good thing, but we admire baby mama for owning up to her mistake. Unlike the sugar daddy, who wasn't man enough to be honest in the courtroom. Believe it or not, the guy had even brought lousy evidence to defend himself.
We had protected sex, Your Honor. Let me explain.
Mr. Lester and I have never had protected sex.
Only when Iris forced herself on me did we not have protected. And when I
Whether
say
I forced myself on him or not, it was always unprotected.
I know how old I am, and I know what sex leads to.
This was all just crazy. Mommy was just loud and agitated, and the potential baby daddy, on the other hand, was sneaky and trifling. Not a good combination, I gotta say. Such equations always bring drama, but hopefully, DNA will sort this out for good.
You are Nyla's father.
Yes! Yes!
Ma'am.
Didn't I tell you?
You need to be respectful.
Didn't I tell you?
I understand you're upset. Use proper language. Do not approach him.
Lies after lies have left Mr. Gilbert and his mother in paternity doubt. They don't believe a word coming out of Miss Cole's mouth. This dilemma has brought them to Judge Lake, because if DNA doesn't prove what baby mama is claiming, the family has no intention of taking in the child as their own.
Where we stand on this whole situation is everything that comes out of their mouths is lies.
So you believe the baby she's carrying is not your son's child?
Absolutely. At this point in time, I cannot truly, honestly say I believe a word of anything that comes out of their mouths. I do not believe that is my son's child. That's why I'm here today.
Classic case of friends turning into friends with benefits. But it was a one-time thing. Even when the pregnancy news broke out, Daddy wasn't very excited and responded to the texts from the plaintiff like this.
Would you be in the baby's life if you knew it was yours? And then you wrote back, yay.
No, yeah, why? There's supposed to be a space there.
Oh, yeah, why? So you, I get it. It's not yay.
Yeah.
It's yeah, why? And then she says, because I am. You say, you've only been with me, haven't you?
And if you think that was dramatic, then you should be sure to know that when the defendant's mother called the baby mama's place to talk about the child, she was totally shocked at what had been going on in the background.
Tasha was in the background yelling, he's not the only option, he's not the only option. It may be somebody else's, it may be somebody else's. And I'm going,
No,
really?
that's not true. You were
can hear
at
her.
my
Hold on
house
one second,
when
Ms.
I
Cole.
told
I'm gonna get to you. You were on the phone and you say you overheard this?
I was a little lost.
Listening to this, Tia's mama got really freaked out and told the court that she was the one who disclosed the other potential daddy because she didn't want to hide such important information.
If I'm hearing through this testimony is that there is another possibility.
Yes. He's fixed, and he did not complete.
So you're saying the other potential father, you've found out since that he's had a vasectomy or he had a vasectomy?
He had.
However, it turns out that the other man had not given any proof of the vasectomy. There could be a chance that he was just lying, or there's a chance that the baby mama's lying about it. On that note, the defendant presents some more evidence to expose the baby mama.
You write back, I don't. Ms. Cole writes, the other guy is fixed. So he says, and if you believe that, you wouldn't have lied to me. Ms. Cole writes back, do you want to be in this baby's life? And then you write, after a paternity test.
Yes.
And while the defendant's mother was being all mature and compassionate, the plaintiff's mother was busy making a nagging mess, even though she knew that her own daughter was an equal perpetrator of this mess.
Well, if my son caused this, why do I have evidence right here? The day they went to take the paternity test, this says your daughter is praying that it is my son's. It says,
I'm getting a DNA test done on Monday to find out who the daddy is of my baby. I'm praying that it's Tristan's baby.
That's right.
correct.
Confusion is just dripping out of this paternity ledger. FYI, things are about to get worse, as after this, the judge took out her conception calendar. And we know how wondrous that can be.
When were you intimate with the other guy, Miss Cole?
I was told it was around the 2nd of April.
Is that true?
No, April 10th.
Oh, the next night.
Yes.
He was
I was
told.
also told that it was the week before me.
Who told you that?
You did.
No, I did not.
Yes,
no, I
you
did
did.
not.
Oh man, this is just a mess. The only good part was that the family was ready to step up if Miss Cole's claims were true. If not, life was gonna be real hard for the baby and the mama, because the dad was not ready to step up.
You are not the father.
I can admit when I'm wrong.
Unanswered questions and loneliness. It's difficult, right? But one has to keep their courage up, or else the truth will remain hidden forever. Miss Dandridge, with all these thoughts, came to meet her potential father for the first time.
You say you were here to determine if you finally found your biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
You claim you were recently given the name of someone you believe is that man, though you've never laid eyes on him before.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Dandridge here always believed her sister's dad was her father, until she found her adoption papers. And after several attempts of confronting her mother, she finally gave her a name, and Mama quit contact with her.
Facebook page called Finding Joseph Lester Sigman. In the first week, I had 300 followers. A week into my search, a lady named Sabrina messaged me and she says, here, I found his mom and his brother. You should call them to see if that's really who it is. And so I called them, and first I called the mom, and she tells me that I'm looking for the wrong Joe.
The young woman was eager, but also scared to meet her daddy for the first time. I'm sure it must be tough for her. So the judge brought in Mr. Sigman so that the father-daughter reunion couldn't get delayed anymore.
Mr. Sigman, thank you so much for being here. Oh, that's beautiful.
I cannot believe you were standing in front of my face.
The defendant shared his feelings that he was shocked to find out about his potential daughter because in his youth, he knew he was sterile. But he said that he was happy with her mother and expressed great joy while recalling his relationship with her mom.
He said I was a drifter. I was probably around 28 years old, down in Florida, down the boardwalk. I met this lady. She tapped me on the shoulder, which was her mother. We spent a lot together. Beach life, we traveled. We run the beaches, we jumped fences. We had sex on the beach, sex in the pool.
So, he mentioned all the merriness of their relationship. Good, it was nice to know things were positive, but what happened on the next turn? Where did the fallout take place? Next, the defendant shared what pulled these lovers apart.
Things got blowed up. She was gone one weekend. I got in trouble with the law down there. I made some bad choices. I got kicked out of the state of Florida. Knowing that I was sterile, I knew it wasn't any reason to go back. You know, I done started another relationship.
So did you ever know that her mother was pregnant?
It was sad to know about their short, bittersweet story. Then, Mr. Sigman replied to the judge that his inability created doubt in him, and also her mother could be seeing other guys as well, to which the plaintiff calmly agreed.
My dad, I have a whole life, you know, that he was robbed of if this man is my father, and I pray, I really want him to be my dad. I have a hole in my chest and I need this.
I've never had nothing my whole life. I've never been married. I didn't have kids. Now she's my new hope.
The stakes of this case were very high. A girl questioning her identity and hoping for proving her paternity, and a man who wanted to finally embrace his daughter. It was a sensitive moment, but the truth should be revealed to give them final closure.
You are not her father.
I can't breathe. I can't
Sit her down, Mr. Sigman. Just put her down.
There's no way I've gone through too much.
Step right up and witness the drama unfold. Sparks fly as a heated dispute ignites between a mother and her son's girlfriend. What's the bone of contention, you ask? Well, hold on to your seats, because the mother claims that Miss Terrell's son is not biologically related to Mr. Jackson.
You petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove your son, Kakitho Hughes, is not the father of Miss Jackson's 2-year-old son, Elijah Jackson. You're suing Miss Jackson for $1,000 for defamation of character because you claim she posted comments on social media claiming you and your family are deadbeats.
Picture this. The grandmother firmly believes that her son's baby, as white as snow, couldn't possibly be related to him. She argues that the child lacks any features of his father, leading her to conclude that this little one can't be her grandson. Even the judge is taken aback by such bold claims. Can you believe she's judging a book by its cover?
And you say the child looks nothing like your son.
That baby white as snow. There's no way that could be my grandchild or my son's baby. He has no features like none of us. Nobody in my family look like that.
And just by looking at this child, you've determined and said to yourself, I do not believe that's my grandchild.
Hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen, because now we have a surprise guest stepping into the courtroom. It's Terrell's sister, Miss Archivist. Whose side is she on? Her brother's girlfriend or her flesh and blood? Brace yourselves, because it seems like Miss Archivist is convinced that this child is not her brother's, and she's quick to dismiss Miss Jackson as nothing more than a side chick.
He never was a girlfriend. You are a vampire. You are just a fly-by-night. We didn't know anything about you. He's been in a relationship for 10 years.
In 10 years, baby.
He's been
by
in a relationship
another
for 2
woman,
years,
and
for 10
those
years.
are my grandchildren.
For 10 years. So all she basically was for him was a snack cake on the side of his meal. There was nothing more.
Thank you.
Miss Terrell herself has some compelling evidence up her sleeve, if you're willing to take a peek. For starters, the baby bears the surname of his mother's ex-husband. Furthermore, the birth certificate lacks any mention of a father's name. Miss Jackson argued that the father wasn't present during the birth.
She could have had it done, but she didn't want to. Plus, the baby has her ex-husband's last name.
That's because that's my last name.
If you don't think the child is his, why would she be trying to change the name?
A couple weeks ago, we talked about it.
The judge called upon Mr. Hughes to shed some light on the matter. Does he believe he's the father of this child? Well, here's a twist for you. Mr. Hughes reveals that he's biracial, which means this Snow White baby might just be his son. But hold your horses. His sister and mother are adamant that he denied fathering this child. What's going on here? Is Mr. Hughes easily swayed, or did he struggle to make up his mind?
Do you believe you are Elijah's father?
I just gave him the benefit of the doubt because I'm biracial. My father's white, you know.
She got men coming and going in and out of her house.
My father's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed dude, so.
How you know? He just gonna say that
blonde-haired,
because, she gonna freak him after this.
So now, wait a minute, you're accusing your brother of not having enough sense to testify as to his own experience?
Prepare to be shocked by a truth bomb dropped by Miss McBirth. She confesses her frustration to the judge, and boy, does it pack a punch. What's got her so worked up, you might ask? Well, turns out she's exhausted from taking care of her son's kids. Mr. Hughes seems to have a knack of sowing wild oats without considering the consequences.
Do you know how many times a girl has said, this is my son's child, this one? Every time I look around, it's a baby here, it's a baby there. And I'm the one stuck helping, gotta feed them, take care of the clothes, and keep them while the mom and dad either go to work or run the street. I'm sick of it.
And now for the grand finale, the truth was about to be unveiled. Hold up, because this might get dizzy. Why am I saying so? Well, you can see how non-negotiable the plaintiffs have been about this paternity. You can't say how they're gonna handle the result if it doesn't go their way.
You are Elijah's father.
No! That's a lie! That's a lie! That's a lie! That's a lie! That's not true!
This change your mind at all?
No.
Why?
He look like me, she look like me, my other sisters and brothers look like me, and we all look like our dad. He has no resemblance.
You are not.
I told her that was my baby,
Sit down.
I told her.
Sit down over there. Stand right where you're standing.
I told you, I'm 100% positive.
This isn't the first time Miss Yarborough has come to paternity court. She proved that Credell Jones was her biological father, while Michael was her real brother. But now they're in for a shocker. To prove that Mr. Triplett is trying to steal their father's estate by pretending to be the son.
He claims that he's like 2 weeks older than me. As far as my life, I know my mother and father was always together from 1964 to 1974. We went on trips together. My father was there, my mother was there. I've never even heard of Mr. Triplett. My dad signed his name on my birth certificate, as well as my brother Irvin's.
The first thing Judge Lauren does is ask them all to show their birth certificates. Both Michael and Miss Yarborough have Credell Jones stated as father, but when it's time for Mr. Triplett to show his, guess what? It says blank where the father's name should be. How will Mr. Triplett defend himself?
You were told that you were his child.
Yes, I've only met him twice. The first memory of meeting him, I was maybe 8 or 9. He pulled up in a car and he kind of pat me on the head, handed me $100 and went up to talk with my mom, and I left. And then the other occasion was he came, but this time my relatives were there.
When Mr. Triplett speaks about the 2 times he met Credell, Judge Lauren asks him if he ever had a father-son conversation with him. When he says no, the entire audience starts murmuring. The judge starts asking Miss Yarborough some questions.
Did you ever hear that in addition to yourself, there were other children?
The only ones that I've heard of were Mr. Jones and his brother, and Kubi when I got here, but I've never heard of him. I don't know where he come from. We just been through this, and now here we are again.
Miss Yarborough says it's unbelievable that Mr. Triplett is doing all of this for the money. When she fought her case, it was because she wanted to reclaim her memories with her late father. She never wanted any royalties or his musical estate. Can Mr. Triplett find a solid excuse to refute her claims?
To me, we all look like our dad. To me, there's no resemblance there.
That picture there was shown to me. Everybody that I know always said that I look like him, so.
Who's told you that over the years?
My family.
And so after witnessing their appearance in this courtroom previously, you felt it was important to get the answers you needed as well.
Right.
Judge Lauren agrees that seeing how famous Credell was, some people might take advantage of that situation. For rebuttal, Michael brought evidence showing how his father divided all his property among his children, and nowhere does it mention Mr. Triplett. As a result, the judge calls in an expert.
You had a couple of great stand-up singing groups during the 70s. Temptations, Four Tops, Shy Lights out of Chicago. A bunch of ~1 songs on the R&B charts. With the amount of sampling that has been done throughout the years, the publishing has got to be well into the millions by now.
The most shocking discovery is when Judge Lauren reveals how it's been reported that Creedell fathered more than 30 children. So it's completely possible that Mr. Triplett is his child. Eventually, they bring in the other brother, Irving Jones, to see what he's got to say about the dilemma.
Once I called Marshall, I told him who I was. He asked me, was Barbara my mother? I said, no, my mom was Ruby. And he said, oh, Ruby, I remember. Came back to his head, but that's the first time I heard the name Barbara. And I found out Barbara was his mother. That's why I believe it is a possibility.
I see.
Because Marshall connected the dots.
After hearing Irving's story, Michael remains stubborn that there's no way Mr. Triplett is their sibling, and he's basing it on the fact that there's no family resemblance between them. At least, Miss Yarborough feels a little sympathetic, but the only way to solve all the confusion is to finally open up the results.
Mr. Triplett, Ms. Yarborough, Mr. Irving Jones, and Mr. Michael Jones, you are related.
Oh. I apologize, bro.
It's all right.
What could be more shocking for a man than knowing a woman lied to him? Mr. Hudson was fooled into thinking that Miss Bridges' son was his son. After some snooping around and confessing, Mr. Hudson has learned a terrible truth.
I even signed the birth certificate on the day of the birth.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
So you signed the birth certificate because on that day, you truly believe this child was yours?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you say she dropped a bomb on you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that. When did that happen?
It happened a little before his first birthday party.
Mr. Hudson confesses he was tricked into babying Miss Bridges' son. The first fight happened on their son's first birthday. Miss Bridges was astonished to discover Mr. Hudson had invited his ex-girlfriend to the party, but not her. To have revenge, she told him something unbelievable.
We had an argument, and that's when she came and she was telling me how I might not be the father and she had done these things. I paid no attention to them because I am the father. I'm supposed to be the father. I'm here.
He was cheating on me back then, so that's the reason why I did what I did. So yes, I say he might not be the father, but I know he's the father of Ja'Cory Hudson.
The entire audience is left speechless as these adults try to argue over how them cheating on each other was justified. But the worst part is, after dropping the shocking news that she slept with Mr. Davis, Miss Bridges admits that she stopped her boy from spending time with Mr. Hudson.
I have no way of getting in contact with him. I can't talk to him. I can't see him.
He knows my auntie number. I gave it to him plenty of times. You just making things up, just not to be in the baby's life.
So is it your inability to get in contact with the child really what's holding you back, or is it the fact that you don't truly know?
It's the fact that we don't know, Your Honor.
Now, Miss Bridges claims that the boy definitely is Mr. Hudson's. She says that it's the only possible window of conception, and even though she cheated on Mr. Hudson, it was after the pregnancy. And she only did that to make him jealous.
Even though you cheated, Miss Bridges, you say, I did it.
Yes.
You still say Mr. Hudson is this child's biological father.
He's 100% child's father.
Why do you know that for certain?
Because I just know, look at my baby, and he been there for us.
The only way to clear this up is to ask Mr. Davis questions too. When Judge Lauren asks him if he thinks he could be Ja'Cory's father, he says yes. That floors the entire audience. And now, everyone's wondering what makes Mr. Davis believe he's the father.
Me and Miss Bridges met. We hung out for a couple of months. We ended up having unprotected sex around about 3 times. I didn't know that she was pregnant at all until I looked on Facebook one day, like a year later, and I see a picture of her son. And immediately, I think her son looks like my nephew.
You won't believe that all this time, Miss Bridges has been leading on 2 men. Mr. Davis didn't want Ja'Cory to grow up not knowing his father's identity, but Miss Bridges raised the poor boy without any male figure in his life. Her aunt is asked to court to answer some questions.
She was honest with you and told you that it could be 2 different men?
That is correct, Your Honor. I have been in his life ever since. There's been games going back and forth of who's the father, who is not the father. Mr. Davis has stepped up. He's constantly calling me, wanting to be the father.
Well, even her aunt thinks this woman needs help. It's been 5 years, and poor Ja'Cory has no idea who his father could be. The way Miss Bridges has roped 2 men into this fiasco is just messy. Will the DNA results provide these gentlemen some relief?
You are not his father. This courtroom is in shock. This is not what anyone expected today. Mr. Hudson, how do you feel right now?
Hurt, betrayed.
Buckle up for one of the most shocking cases ever. When Miss Sanders realized she got the wrong man to sign her son Caleb's birth certificate, she knew she had to repair her mistakes. Now she's accusing Mr. Brady of fathering her son. What does Mr. Brady himself say?
Why do you doubt this beautiful baby is yours?
The first thing is the green eyes. No one in my family has green eyes. May I show you, Your Honor? Starting with my grandparents. My grandma don't have green eyes. My granddaddy don't got green eyes. Me, I definitely don't have green eyes.
At first, the two of them start arguing over the colors of Caleb's eyes. Mr. Brady says no one in his family has green eyes, so it's impossible that the boy is his son. But the thing that makes Mr. Brady extremely reluctant is how Miss Sanders never told him about the boy. Instead, he found out through Facebook.
I come to the house, dudes coming and going all the time. Like, I left her house.
How you gonna tell me that dudes coming and going, but you
I
not?
left her
if
house
a dude
and the
gonna
dude
sit-
came through, the same dude who she was texting.
How
Her
you gonna
ex
get-
came through while I was pulling off.
So you telling me that if you see somebody with your girlfriend, you ain't gonna get mad and try
You
to
wasn't
fight?
my girlfriend, you just, we was broken up.
Turns out that Mr. Brady doesn't have an issue being the father. His actual issue is with how Miss Sanders had multiple men visiting her house and how he's the only one shocked about being the possible father. The question is, were they ever in a serious relationship, or were they only fooling with each other?
Have you asked Mr. Brady for any help? Did you say to him, sir?
At the beginning I did, but he's so nonchalant about everything. It's not even a point to even talk. We don't have any
I initially
communication.
tried to take care of
Communication.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he has not.
When you say you initially tried,
I was
did
there.
you succeed? Take care of the child?
No.
Eventually, Miss Sanders reveals that the pregnancy wasn't an easy feat for her. The baby had some cyst in his brain, and the doctors thought it could be Down syndrome. Mr. Brady says he supported Miss Sanders in this tough time, but she shocks the entire audience when she says he's lying.
When I tried to take care of him and all that, she told me she didn't need my help. And plus, why would I take care of a baby that's not possibly mine or is mine with green?
He never even cared. Only thing he cared about was some shoes. When I first told him that I was pregnant, I called Mr. Brady and I told him, I said, I'm pregnant. I want to let you know. He just sat on the phone.
The thing that really surprised Mr. Brady was how another man signed the birth certificate. That's more than enough proof that Miss Sanders is just sucking him into this mess so she can trap him in some paternity cycle. But when her ex signed the certificate, what happened?
I just didn't want my son to not have someone listed as his father on the birth certificate. It was just something that was inside me instead of just having it blank. And this man was gonna be in his life like he said he would. I just wanted him to know, even if this is not your biological father, he still wants to be your father.
But what about when she was texting him?
Miss Sanders uses the excuse that she didn't want her child's birth certificate to be blank, even if that meant the man signing the certificate wasn't Caleb's biological father. After this, Mr. Brady uncovers another shocking fact. It's about another man Miss Sanders had been sleeping with.
When she was texting the dude at work, my coworker.
He comes, I don't understand why he keeps saying his coworker when he never had a job. So what coworker is he talking about?
Your Honor, I've been working for 9 months consecutive.
9 months and my son 6 months and I was pregnant. You have to be pregnant for 9 months, right? And Caleb is 6 months. They don't add up.
But then, Miss Sanders' mother comes into court to support her daughter. She's had enough of Mr. Brady avoiding responsibility of this child. But Mr. Brady won't step up until he knows for certain that Caleb shares his blood. Time for Jerome to take out the results.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Brady, you are not.
I told her that wasn't my baby, Your Honor.
Sit down.
I told her.
Sit down over there. Stand right where you're standing.
I told her, Your Honor, 100% positive.
Miss Sanders, he said he was positive.
So who
I don't
other
understand.
possibilities?
I really don't understand.
Mr. White and Miss Loving are in for one of the most shocking times of their lives. While Miss Loving is convinced that Mr. White is her daughter's father, Mr. White has strong evidence that this woman is just scheming against him for no reason.
You had a sexual relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
Going on dates,
Correct.
meeting his mom, calling
Correct.
his mom.
Correct.
You're calling my mom. I'm
Correct.
meeting your brothers. I took you to a
Correct.
family reunion,
Correct.
but I'm not your girlfriend.
Correct. That's still, we had an understanding,
you
though.
call that?
There's still an
What is
understanding. What is it? But what did you call it, though? It wasn't no relationship.
Okay.
Once Mr. White found out about the pregnancy, he asked Miss Loving if he was the only possibility. Even though she promised him it couldn't be anyone else, Mr. White still doubted her. So, was his reasoning for not believing her.
We already had a talk, this supposed to have been a one-time thing. Remember, we just started back talking when I double back, you feel what I'm saying? We just started back talking.
This wasn't a one-time thing. Prior to that, we were still around each other.
Okay, we was around, but we hanging every day?
No, it wasn't every day,
but
we was...
we didn't see each other for a year and some change, correct?
You're right, but we were still in contact. We were still chilling.
But Miss Loving was really shocked when Mr. White came to the hospital when she was giving birth, and he brought a pregnancy test with him. Miss Loving found it offensive, but Mr. White claims all he wanted to know was if the baby really was his. After all, would any man take care of a baby that doesn't belong to him?
When you looked at the baby, did you feel like it was your child?
No, ma'am. She was beautiful, though, but no, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, and so then did you ever ask Miss Loving, I want to do this DNA test, I have it in the car?
I said, I got the DNA test in the car, you know what I'm saying? Y'all still want me to go get it? Miss Brenda was like, yeah, I ain't hear Tiana say nothing, so I repeated it. You feel what I'm saying? I was like, you still want me to go get the test? She said, no, bro. She said no.
That day, Mr. White left the hospital not knowing if Loyal was his daughter for sure. On top of that, Miss Loving never openly shared the identity of the other possible father. Adding more to the shock, the conception dates were all messed up too. So, her mother's going to come to her defense now.
Mr. White, very respectful young man. I love him. He used to get on my daughter, about the way she talked to me, and I just looked at him like he's a wonderful man. That's why I believe that Mr. White was my granddaughter's father.
All right.
But the most unbelievable thing that happened is how one clinic gave Miss Loving a conception date that matched with Mr. White. When she went to get checked by her regular gynecologist, they gave her a completely different date. So, with two men in the mix, how did Miss Loving handle the situation?
They then did the calculation and gave you a new conception date.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that conception date clearly pointed to a certain man?
Yes.
Which one?
Mr. Talbert.
So, when you got the second conception date, you said it brought Mr. Talbert as a potential father, and yet you're saying today Mr. White is your child's father.
It's pretty hard for the audience to keep up with all these dates. With Miss Loving's story out of the way, Mr. White asks to have his mother brought in. She'll clear up why Mr. White is so reluctant to embrace Loyal as his daughter.
My son is very responsible. He's been worried, stressed about it. He want to know. If this is his, we refuse to have ours out there, without us doing anything for her. I mean, why refuse the test? If I know you my baby daddy, you better swab it, baby.
I didn't
swab it. If I have a problem, I have a problem with that.
With the mothers arguing with each other, it's becoming clear that the only way to settle this matter is to open up the results. Judge Lauren is confused by the mess created, but at least both Mr. White and Miss Loving want it resolved. Will the results help them?
It has been determined by this court. Loyal's biological father is Mr. Talbert. Congratulations, sir. Are you glad to know the truth?
I am.
Mr. White, your assertion was true.
Yeah, it's done like that.
Mr. Brady, you are not.
I told her that wasn't my baby,
Sit down.
I told her.
Sit down over there. Stand right where you stand.
Miss Eubanks arrived in the court to seek Judge Lake's help to save her relationship. She claimed that Mr. Wilkes fathered her baby, Maisie. And once paternity was proved, that baby mama expected a ring to pop up. Moving on to the plaintiffs.
Ms. Eubanks, you say you are here to save your relationship with the defendant by proving that he is your 3-month-old son, Mozzie's father. Mr. Wilkes, you say negative paternity results will end your relationship. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the alleged daddy stated that his doubts regarding the potential child had worn out on him, and now he wanted to know for certain if he fathered the baby or not. Further, he said that this dispute had troubled and distressed him.
I'm tired of guessing, wondering, and things of that sort. And like she said, we have been together for so long, so I shouldn't have doubts, but I have my reasoning.
You are troubled about this.
Exactly. Sometimes, I'm stressing, even growing gray hairs. I'm only 30 years old.
The baby mama gave the relationship a recap. It was revealed that they met at a strip club and started dating each other, as they both had goo-goo eyes for each other. But when the baby came into their picture, old romance got watered down like this.
We met each other at the strip club. We was there for a family member's birthday party. It was just love at first sight. Like, we was together ever since. It took a turn for the worse after our first child was born. We had took a little, I guess what he calls it, a so-called breakup.
Whereas the potential daddy accused the baby mama of cheating on him. He alleged that he had caught her texting multiple other dudes. But baby mama wiped it all off by asserting that she had no man in her life other than Mr. David.
She was definitely talking to other people at the time.
I was talking.
When you say talking, what does that mean? Does that mean?
That means that could be sex also.
No.
But we're just not together.
Well, that's not talking then.
I never had no relations with nobody else. I talked to other people when we had that little split, but I never had relations with them.
Oh, next, the guy explained the incident when he confronted the woman at the podium. He stated that when he went to pick her up, he hit her ex. Now you can't blame the daddy for his doubts, girl.
I catch him going in the house, so me being the person that I am, he walked a little closer to the door. So as I walked to the door, he turns around and walked the other way. So when I goes in the house, she's laying in the bed. What are you supposed to expect?
No.
She was acting like she was asleep.
Mr. Wilkes' accusation seemed a little off, but to prove his claims, he brought concrete evidence, which was a video of her dancing with some guys. Ugh, I guess mommy's in big trouble.
Let's take a look at the video. What do we see here, Mr. Wilkes?
We see that's her when she said she had eyes for me. This is during our little separation. That's her dancing. She's bent over, she just slapped the camera. That's a guy behind her, you can't really see it. You kind of see it? You see that grinding?
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
While the evidence was a shock bomb to everyone, the baby mama claimed that the defendant had deceived her. She told us that he sent her a picture of him with some other woman, but the man did not let mommy turn the point by saying, "We are not in the divorce court."
He sent me a picture of him and another girl talking about this is white.
This isn't couples court. We're here for a paternity test.
Right, but you love me also.
Yeah, but you're not.
Love me also, but you can't say you love me also.
We're here for
all right.
I guess the baby mama needed to take notes from Mr. Wilkes on how to come prepared in the court. Further, the man brought a witness who recreated the whole cheating dance. Whoop! That little scene made even Jerome dance like this.
You were there that night at this club?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you remember seeing?
No, he was not.
I'm in the club, I'm standing back, I'm looking. All you see is him all on her. They grinding.
He is lying.
They grinding.
He is
They grinding like they.
No.
Like they.
He
Do it one more time.
Don't even
The
listen
dudes
to
all
him
on her
because
like
he's
this.
lying.
As the trial moved forward, Miss Eubanks stated that pregnancy news changed the potential father's mind, and he took her back, and even tried to step up for the coming baby. But the defendant denied all of this, saying that the plaintiff was just making stuff up.
I had met up with Mr. Wilkes, and he had looked at me. He gave me this like weird little look, and then he just started touching on my stomach, and he was like, "Is this the little girl that we've been hoping for?" It was like we was together again, like every day. We was still being a happy family. We was picking out names.
I don't know what she's telling you.
Further, it got told the alleged father and baby mama had intoxicated the situation instead of resolving the friction. But it was evident that both needed DNA results badly for their baby and their relationship. So, let's get those results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Wilkes, you are the father.
The past caught up to Mr. Norris Sr. when his wife and son chose to look him up after decades. So, Mrs. Norris dragged her husband to the court to prove that he fathered her son, whom he had been denying for 22 years. Let's find out whom the DNA will prove wrong.
Ms. Norris, you claim Johnny B. Norris Sr. has been denying he fathered your son for the past 22 years.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Norris, you state that you've always known that Johnny Jr. is not your son. You believe the DNA will finally prove it.
At the beginning of the trial, it was revealed that first, he acknowledged the paternity, but something changed his mind. But their story did start on a good note, as they were once in love and had a shotgun wedding.
Ms. Norris, did the defendant ever acknowledge Junior as his son?
Yes, Your Honor, he did. We were married by my father in our front yard. We had a yard wedding.
It was a shotgun wedding, y'all. I was kind of forced into it due to the circumstances. But I loved her at the time, Your Honor.
So the defendant disclosed the reasons behind his doubts. He claimed that Norris Jr.'s granny told him that he was not the father of the baby. Further, he pleaded that the plaintiff was messing around with her ex when she conceived the baby.
His grandmother said that I wasn't his father. She'd go out from time to time for a couple days consecutive and in the same breath, and I felt like she was sleeping around on me with her ex. Her ex is the name that her mom used when she said that I wasn't his father.
Okay, so the alleged daddy stated that he was tired of his wife and that he wanted to go far away from her. So when he left, he had no intentions of coming back to them. Just a quick question, sir. Why make the alleged son pay for it?
When I left, I had no intentions of coming back. So that's not true because I was done. I moved to Seattle. When I left Florida, I moved to Seattle. I wanted to get way away from it.
I'm reiterating.
And he wasn't the reason why I left. It was the mom.
However, the plaintiff wiped all the claims and testified that her mother was angry at Mr. Norris because he wasn't treating her the way she deserved, and he was the deceiver. So this is why she blurted that he was not the father out of her rage.
She was angry with him because the way he was treating me. And we wasn't getting along. And she knew that he was a cheater, being with us.
5 years
and
old.
he was still,
I've been in
a cheater,
in
and we
other
were married.
relationships.
Why would I look for you? You left.
Just something.
You left your son.
Up next, the woman claimed that she started her search mission after moving to Georgia. She hit him up online, and they spoke on the phone and exchanged numbers. But Daddy acted like he had amnesia.
And we were able to find a family member of Mr. Norris. I gave them a number to contact me, and he did. I gave him an address for my son to write him, and he's promised that he would, which that never happened.
Further, it slipped out that Mommy talked to the second wife of her husband, and she assisted her throughout. And Norris said that both women had a conversation on Facebook. Uh-oh, I think he meant Fakebook.
Get on Facebook.
No, I don't go on Facebook. I don't go on Facebook, Your Honor, that often. I speak with her on the phone.
And stuff like that.
On the phone.
I mean, right now,
She's a trip.
She don't know who Beverly is, but they speak to each other, and it's like they've been knowing each other.
Now it was the time to hear from Miss Beverly. She claimed that she heard rumors for years that her husband fathered a son, and it got confirmed when she contacted the defendant's first wife on the Spacebook. Whoosh, I think I'll sign up for this social media ASAP.
I heard rumors through the years. I got on Facebook and I contacted his son, got Mrs. Norris's number and talked to her on the phone. I asked her, had she divorced them? And she said no.
It was apparent that Norris Sr. neglected his potential child and baby mama, but he did not stop blaming the plaintiff for his mistakes. Further, he asserted that Mrs. Norris had ruined his marriage life by getting a Spacebook. Somebody please tell me what a Spacebook is.
That's your husband.
Your Honor, she's running my marriage. She is.
How am I running your marriage?
By getting on Facebook, talk.
No. We talk on the phone only, Your Honor. We have never talked through Facebook.
Well, not hard to find. All she's got to do is type in her husband's name.
Thank you.
Even though Judge Lauren heard a lot of their testimony, this never-ending disagreements and arguments were making things more complicated. Things were all over and not getting to the point of resolution. So the only way was with those results.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Norris Sr., you are not his father.
I told you, Your Honor. I told you he wasn't my son, Your Honor.
Well, I believed he was, and I do apologize.
Miss Sander admitted to testing another man for the baby's paternity, but when it came back negative, she aimed her arrows at her ex. However, Mr. Brady neglected the claims and asked baby mama to point her finger at the baby's real daddy.
Miss Sanders, you admit to having another man sign your 6-month-old son Caleb's birth certificate, but now say that Caleb's real biological father is Mr. Jamarvis Brady.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Brady, you claim it is genetically impossible that you are Caleb's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
The trial started with the plaintiff stating that she had done everything alone for the baby and that the potential dad was a deadbeat. However, the baby daddy stated he felt no obligation to a child who wasn't his.
Ms. Sanders, what has Mr. Brady done exactly for baby Caleb since his birth?
He has not done anything, Your Honor. I had to get Caleb baby food. I had to get him diapers, clothes, everything, and that is not cheap.
I don't care about the baby being pretty. I care about if the baby mine or not. I take care of my responsibility, not another man's.
The defendant presented a compelling argument to the court and said that the green eyes of the baby had pulled doubts into him. And to support his claims, he put forward the history of his family's eye color like this.
My grandma don't have green eyes. My granddaddy don't got green eyes. My mama or my daddy. Her either, obviously. Me, I definitely don't have green eyes. I'm trying to figure out where these green eyes come from that's on this baby. Because it ain't my family. And I'm looking at them, it ain't their family either.
Maybe Miss Sanders has green eyes and that genetic trait in her family.
Mr. Brady further stated that his doubts flared up when baby mama did not let him assist through the pregnancy, as she was stubborn as a mule. But the plaintiff refuted his claims and stated that when her ex came back into the picture, the defendant decided not to sue mommy.
Initially tried to go to the appointments, Your Honor. I tried a lot. Catherine's just a handful.
He was playing me from the left because I didn't want to be with him no more. So he got mad because I got back.
Have you asked Mr. Brady for any help? Did you say to him, sir?
At the beginning I did, but he's so nonchalant about everything. It's not even a point to even talk to him. We don't have any communication.
I initially tried to take care of
communication.
As the trial proceeded, it was revealed that Miss Sander was all alone throughout the pregnancy, because her man chose shoes over his girlfriend and baby. And this is why she let her ex sign the birth certificate.
When I was pregnant, he never even cared. I don't think he cared about was some shoes. When I first told him that I was pregnant, I called Mr. Brady and I told him, I said, I'm pregnant, I want to let you know. He just sat on the phone, didn't say anything. I'm saying, hello.
Further, it was revealed that she tested another man and had knocked him out of this paternity run. But the alleged father's doubts were also real, as there was another on the baby's birth certificate. So she better not blame the defendant for his doubts.
You tested another man.
Yes.
You found out that he was not the father.
Yes.
And after you got that conclusion, you knew that at this point, Mr. Brady was the only other option?
Yes.
And you're positive that he was the only other option?
Yes.
If she was sure that the baby's mine, why would she let him sign the birth certificate instead of telling me out the dribble? Like,
I've been told him that I was pregnant. He never cared.
Let me see to understand this mess, Judge Lake summoned the witness to the podium. She testified that the defendant was a deadbeat dad, and mother was sure he was the only potential father left in the picture, as the other man had dropped out. But the daddy stood persistent on his allegations.
I believe my daughter. I don't know Mr. Brady. This is my first time ever seeing him. Since Caleb's been born, myself and my husband step up. We buy this baby everything when she needs help. We step up. Even if you think that he may be your son, won't you feel like a fool if he's your son and you've never contributed 1 red cent towards taking care of him? You know what I mean?
Nonetheless, Ms. Sanders claimed that Mr. Brady had humiliated her by denying his son in front of her acquaintances. Oh my! Boy, who on earth does this? Why would you embarrass someone like that? Especially when there's a baby involved in this situation.
After he embarrassed me in front of everybody, I have not had no dealing with him at all. One day I'm walking through the neighborhood, he asked, he was like, he just called my name out the blue. I'm like, okay, here we go with this mess again. He said, can I see the baby? I said, yeah. I lift the blanket off his head. Here he go. I told y'all that's not my baby. Y'all look, this is not my baby. Look his eye, that's not my baby.
Well, it'd be nice if somebody else knew besides me.
They were not on the same page, and their back and forth arguments were not helping Judge Lake to figure out the solution to this paternity mess. So the ultimate way to settle this conflict was to declare the results they needed.
In the case of Sanders versus Brady, pertaining to 6-month-old Caleb Robinson, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Brady, you are not.
I told her that wasn't my baby, Your Honor.
Sit down.
I told her.
Sit down over there. Stand right where you're standing.
A treacherous wife dragged her husband to prove the paternity of her daughter. However, Mr. McDow asserted that his ex-wife was a trollop, which made him stand out of fathering Chase. And the DNA results will end this discussion for good.
Ms. McDow, you say you have no doubt that your 1-month-old daughter, Annabelle, is your husband's biological child because you claim you only had sex with Mr. McDow during the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. McDow, you say that once the DNA results prove the child is not yours, you want out of this marriage.
Yes, Your Honor.
So the defendant said that the whole family had been defaced due to baby mama swindling. McDowell's infidelity ripped her apart from her children. Ma'am, were those skirt chasers worth ruining your family?
The children we have lost their mother. I'm a single father at the moment. I'm taking care of them by myself. She just one day told me she was gonna go to her friends. Well, the next day, the female friend she went to go spend the night with called me and said she walked into the home and caught her, Miss McDow, and her boyfriend on the couch cuddling.
That's a lie.
Whenever I brought it to Miss Adele's attention that I knew about it, she said that's what friends do.
However, the mommy stated that her husband was the flagrant man who asked her to sleep with another man in front of him when she was intoxicated, and this gave her the red flag.
Him and the friend that I went and stayed the night with was drinking that night. We went to the store, and on our way back, he's gonna tell me that I could sleep with this dude in front of him and watch me mess around with this dude. And I told him, I said, no, I'm your wife, and that's not right.
Oh, so suddenly the red flag turned green, huh? And led Mrs. McDowell to another man's bed. And the potential father revealed that baby mommy had numerous guys in the picture. However, folks, you know this. What's more needed to ride on this paternity mess? Absolutely nothing.
Went out to my friend's house. Dude was my friend and the chick was my friend. I did not know she was planning on leaving that night. It's the whole reason I ended up asking to stay the night.
But you ended up in the bed with this guy.
Yes, Your Honor.
You end up pregnant and you tell your husband?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what was his response?
It's not mine.
It's not mine.
Even though the plaintiff admitted the claims of deceiving, she did her best to prove herself innocent. So next up, she brought the calendar of conception to support her claims and allegedly explained that Mr. McDowell had impregnated her like this.
The 27th of October, you were intimate with your husband,
Yes,
Mr.
Your
McDowell.
Honor.
And then on the 9th and the 10th of November, you were intimate with the other man in question.
Yes, Your Honor.
The 27th is when you slept with your husband, Mr. McDowell.
Yes,
so
Your Honor.
you figured it was his child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Further, the man explained the incident of overhearing. He explained the wicked conversation of baby mama mocking that she already knew about him not fathering her baby, but gaining financial benefit was the motive behind it all.
May I say one more thing? We had a court scheduled in our town. I was walking down the hallway. I was running late for court. She did not know where I was coming. I tucked in behind the corner to where no one could see me, and I overheard her telling somebody and laughing that she knew the child wasn't mine and that she was just playing us for the money.
So, it was time to hear from the witness. Ms. Combs alleged that baby mama duped her into a paternity mess, which is why she took her in, supported her, and gave her boyfriend money to work. Yet the deceiving did not stop.
She told me from day one that it was his, like she's saying now. I believed her as a grandmother.
Well, it looks
I'm gonna
nothing like-
do.
nothing
I
like
took
me
her
nor
to the
the
doctors.
kids.
She called me wanting food. She called me wanting money. I done her and her boyfriend's laundry. I even give her and her boyfriend money to come and do stuff at my house just to earn money.
Ms. McDowell confessed that she dumped her husband for her lover, Mr. Alfred. But it turned out that she'd been intimate with both men in the window of conception. So, you know, guys, when things like this happen, you roll up to the paternity court.
November the 9th, I sat there and messaged him on Facebook, seeing if I can come over and chill with him and hang out. And then, yes, we ended up having sex that night.
While you're married?
He asked me to come back the next day, and I told him I would. Well, we ended up getting together that next day, which is November the 10th. And we had sex that day, too.
And now you're boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
Finally, the second potential father came in. He claimed that he did not believe either one of them was the father, but instead, there should be another man who could be the biological daddy in this paternity contest. Oh my, the lady's straight up scandalous.
Do you believe your baby Annabelle's biological father?
Personally, I don't believe me or Michael, either one or the father. I think it might be the gentleman that she was with before she tried to work things out with Michael.
What's interesting here is you say the baby's your husband says the baby's your lover, and your lover says the baby's by another.
As the trial proceeded, it turned out that Miss McDowell was hopping between 4 men simultaneously, and Mr. Alfred caught her messaging another man about the child. Regardless of his doubts, he signed the birth certificate.
Ms. McDowell, how many men were you sleeping with?
I was with 4 dudes all together. That's including Mr. Alfred and McDowell.
I had also found messaging from Facebook from this other gentleman to Mrs.
I can relate to that.
McDowell asking about her pregnancy and the child. And to me, that seems kind of fishy. Why would he be asking unless he thought he might be the father as well?
Did you sign the birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
It was evident that baby mama was debauched and her promiscuity disrupted multiple lives, and she could not blame the defendants for their doubts. So the last hope to get closure for the baby was to reveal the results.
In the case of McDow versus McDow, when it comes to 1-month-old Annabelle Alfred, as to whether Mr. McDowell or Mr. Alfred is the biological father. Mr. Alfred, you are her father.
How was you looking out for me? How come I had to find out for somebody else? Why you come to me like a real man and tell me?
Clean your hands with us and forget about us. She lost her son. I did. He was my baby that I lost. I want to grieve my baby. Just lost him 6 months ago. Let me grieve him.
Mr. Baker, you are not
her father. That's what I'm talking about.
Head over heels in love with a woman twice his age and backstabbed by his own best friend. This Atlanta man wants to know if he is the father of the defendant's 2-year-old daughter. The plaintiff started his betrayal story like this.
Her personality, I really was intrigued by her energy. She's like the life of the party, but her mind is what captured my heart. But after finding out all the stuff that she did, I look at her like a dirty dish rag trying to wash clean dishes.
I know he didn't go there.
But the self-proclaimed cougar had no shame about her game. She admitted that she cheated. However, Miss Woods never imagined that she would end up getting pregnant at the age of 43. Still, she was adamant that the plaintiff is the father.
Sleep with his best friend?
I'm blaming it on the alcohol.
You're not the first in this courtroom.
The thing of it is, we had a little too much to drink, and everything is about being at my house, throwing parties, inviting everybody over to my house. And all this took place after I'm a mother of 11 kids before I had Trinity. So I decided at the age of 40 years old that I was gonna be the life of the party.
Even the judge could see how hard all of this was for the alleged father. Mr. Baker told the court how excited he was about having the baby. The guy was there for every little bit because he had no idea about the defendants cheating on him.
I was really serious about it. 8 months into the pregnancy, I get a phone call from my cousin. Say she got something to tell me. Go ahead, just tell me what's good. Guess what she tell me? She had a conversation with Jimmy, and that Jimmy admitted to her that she slept with Janine.
Mr. Dudley.
Not only that, she seen her in the club. This is stuff I didn't know. She all in the club. Remember, she life of the party, dances. Yes. She even left the club with a dude.
Their own love started from a one-night stand, and then it bloomed into something permanent, adding a kid to the mix and making it a lifetime commitment. Or at least that's what Mr. Baker was thinking.
When she told me she was pregnant, I was excited. One of my exes, she was pregnant, had a miscarriage. The second time, I was actually in the hospital holding the baby. Found out that wasn't my child. So I refused to play the fool and go through that again without being certain.
He's not on the birth certificate, okay?
So he wasn't on the birth certificate. This brought up the conception part. So the calendar showed that she slept with men in the same proximity. That's why the judge called Mr. Dudley in. But when he got there, all hell broke loose.
I just try to look out for him, make sure you know what I'm saying,
watch out for me, bro.
Yeah, bro.
You was looking out for me.
Yeah, bro.
How was you looking out for me?
You gotta look.
If that's the case, if you was looking out for me, why you didn't tell me? How come I had to find out for somebody else?
Hey, bro, I'm tell you like this here. It happens like that sometimes.
Why you didn't tell me? Why you come to me like a real man and tell me?
Well, Jimmy claimed that he was actually trying to look out for him and to expose the toxic nature of Mr. Woods. Nonetheless, Mommy here refused to be painted as the villain in the story.
How you gonna expose me? You ain't want to expose me, baby. You want to sleep with me like everybody else.
Hey, you look nice and everything. That wasn't what I was trying to do.
You know
at
what it
that
was?
point
You
in
been
time.
staying to see me.
So hold on.
You got 11 children.
You wanted to break us up.
Yes,
My kids grown on their own. I only
That
have
man
5
ain't got
at
no
home.
kids. Why you trying to tie that
My
man
kids
down
are
like
grown
that?
on their own.
Yeah, order in the court, please. The judge made it clear that there was no bigger person in this mess. It's just grown-ups making wrong decisions and little children paying for them. While baby mama testified she was sure that the plaintiff was the only potential father. Let's see if she's telling the truth.
When it comes to 2-year-old Trinity Wood, Mr. Baker, you are not her father.
That's what I'm talking about.
Miss Santos was in a big mess as her secret baby daddy passed away. Plus, the family of the deceased father refused to accept the baby. Why were they doing so? Because for Grandma, the child was a betrayal of trust. And we know how that goes when such sentiments are involved. There is good drama coming.
It was such a secret because me and Raymond grew up together from Pampers.
Like cousins.
Like cousins. That's why it was such a secret. We don't have blood in our system. We don't have the same blood running through our system.
No, you don't have the
But
same
we
blood.
did grew up together. That's why it was such a secret. That's why I kept this pregnancy such a secret.
Baby Mama and Mr. Cologne were like cousins, and clearly they crossed a line mingling like that. But in the plaintiff's defense, they weren't actually related. Moreover, it was the alleged father who pushed Ms. Santos' feelings, which the distressed defendant was not ready to buy at all.
Very disrespectful. You know, if he wanted to be with you, you should have told him, no, we're family.
No, he was so persistent on trying to be with me that I gave in.
So, Miss Santos,
we're not blood. We're not blood.
The bottom
that
line,
was my whole thing, we're not blood.
But in the end, you did give in and you slept with him.
I did.
Yeah, I know it sounds pretty simple, right? Grew up together and fell in love. Well, it wasn't, as Miss Santos was cheating on her boyfriend and initially acted like Juju was his.
You were in a relationship with somebody else.
Yes, I was, and Raymond knew that.
Sexually active with that person as well as Mr. Cologne.
Yes,
that's my case.
This was around the time of conception.
Yes, I told Raymond that I was pregnant or whatever because me and Raymond was really close.
If she believed another man was the father, then what changed her mind? Well, it turns out that her ex-boyfriend wanted nothing to do with Julius. This left both mommy and baby on the street, after which Mr. Cologne came to their rescue. Nonetheless, Mama Cologne mentioned a crucial part Miss Santos missed.
Then she was alone for a little while. She hooked up with another man that she was living with, that Raymond was his friend. So Raymond would come out of work and go to their house to play little video games. True or false?
It's true.
So you were with someone else before you were Raymond.
Okay, but that
so
has
Raymond
nothing
was your
to do
third
with
man.
this.
Raymond is not the father of this baby. I'm sorry.
Ramon being the baby daddy was a no-go zone for Mary Lou because Juju looked nothing like the rest of the Cologne family. Furthermore, the grandma was adamant that if her son was a father to any child in the world, he would have never hidden it from his mother.
If he thought, by any slim chance, Julius is my son, let me go talk to my mom and dad and see if they'll help me pay a DNA test if I can be positive that it is my son. He could have gone to City Hall and signed his name on the birth certificate. If Raymond thought that it was his son, that it was definitely his son, he would have talked to us and told us.
However, it was revealed that the perfect son moved out of his home from Miss Cologne on Mother's Day. Later, she found out that Ramon moved just to be with the plaintiff. Well, that's a pretty clear sign of them being more than just friends, huh?
He put a roof over her head. Apparently, they were just roommates in the beginning, and then the relationship started. When I was told that they were living together, no. They're cousins, they cannot live together.
So nobody except mommy and daddy knew about the affair, right? Well, that's the twist, as the auntie of Julius testified that her brother told her about his son, and that her mother was in denial, because in her eyes, her son wouldn't do anything like that.
Whatever she says, she's right, you know what I'm saying? But
now that's a good daughter, isn't it, Miss Cologne? You know what side your bread is buttered on, right?
My brother told me from the beginning that's his baby, you know what I'm saying? And he took care of him. Juju, still to this day, he asks for Poppy. And who's Poppy? My brother.
Still, none of this was convincing enough for the defendant, because in Miss Cologne's eyes, her baby Angel could do no wrong, and she blamed Miss Santos for brewing all the drama for money.
If he is, then we will help the child. And if it's not, so please leave us alone. Just leave us alone. That's all. If the baby is not Raymond's, leave us alone. That's all I want. You know, clean your hands with us and forget about us. She didn't lose her son. I did. He was my baby that I lost. I want to grieve my baby.
Confusion and negation are running too much in this case. Though the judge felt bad for both sides, it was clear all of this quarreling was the result of the potential father hiding the truth and baby mama not going for a DNA test before. But it wasn't too late. Let's get to that envelope.
It has been determined that Mr. Raymond Cologne is not father.
Little Jordan lost her chance at paternity when her potential father kicked her mother out of his house out of nowhere. So, mommy's in the court to set the record straight, because she knows that Gibbs is the father, and he can't back out baby girl so easily.
You're in a relationship. He's the one for me. Then he goes to a spiritual convention.
Yes.
And comes home.
Yeah, he told me he had to go because he was working on himself or whatever. So I was like, well, it's late. Can I just wait till the morning, just go to my grandmother's house? Because, you know, it was late.
It's middle of the night.
It was like 12, 1, 2 maybe.
So the gentleman here was pulling these antics on his girlfriend. Sounds odd, right? Well, the defendant had a valid reason for it. Turns out that Miss Phillips had chosen another guy over him at the party. That's why the moment he got back, the intolerant man got rid of her.
He kind of just ignores that I'm even there. I'm asking her, I said, hey, you going with me or not? So she want to stay here with the guy that I just got into an altercation with.
Why is it if you came to the party with him and you guys were together when there was an altercation, why didn't you leave with him?
I've been around that family for years, and I know how they work.
Okay, don't fall for this anticipation so fast, because Miss Phillips only stayed to defuse the situation. In her words, she had been on the same course for years and thought it would be the best move to cool things down.
Trying to keep it down because they was ready to go to the house.
So out of protection for him, you were just trying to diffuse it and say, I'm just gonna stay.
Exactly.
After that, it follows up. I go to Miami with a friend of mine. 2 days later, I get a call from a mutual friend that says she was involved in an event.
I called you and told you.
My mutual friend told me first.
Next came the promiscuous part. Mr. Gibbs told the court how one of his acquaintances told him about sleeping with the plaintiff, and even she confessed. But baby mama testified that she was no swindler.
Yes,
Originally, she told me that was her brothers, her real fleshly brothers.
Yes,
I asked her several
I told him
times.
all this. This is what I told him.
Miss Phillips admitted to cheating.
Yes,
I did. She told me that, but when I first got back, told me that she didn't. Stayed for about a month and a half until finally she broke out and said, yeah, I did cheat, but it wasn't with who I was with that night.
So the trust is going out the window, but you're still with her?
I'm still with her.
After that, trust was drained out of their relationship. None of them had respect for each other, especially the alleged father. He had stooped to calling his woman names and rubbing infidelity in her face.
What I'm gathering is
God,
that this relationship was messy. You end up pregnant.
Yes. The question up is it mine? And I'm like, okay, you feel like it's not yours, how? We haven't unprotected sex since we've been talking.
But things didn't go better from there either, because Mr. Gibbs told that the mama at the podium made things worse by vanishing. When the judge asked Miss Phillips' reason for it, she disclosed the mistreatment she had to go through. But this wasn't an excuse for the potential dad.
You go and take off 800 miles away. You go to Tampa. You down there. You done left me up here high and dry. You're not worried about me. I'm calling. I'm trying to maintain a long distance relationship. But how much can I do this when I'm not at doctor's appointments? I'm not there doing the pregnancy of this child. The labor of this child.
The defendant was left out of the pregnancy experience. Based on these actions, Mr. Gibbs was washing his hands of the pregnancy. And even his sister backed up his assumptions. In her mind, no one should move away from the father for the sake of the child.
You don't even have a paternity test because they both were seeing other people. She was seeing other people and he was seeing other people. And he told me around the time that the baby was conceived or when she found out she was pregnant, it didn't add up. She was seeing other people and they weren't really together like that.
You were married, you were cheating, and you were tit for tat, and you break up, and then you get back together, and then potentially create a child, and still arguing about it.
The judge was right. All of this is just so messy. Both were doing things just to hurt each other, and their relationship was keeping the poor child from having both parents in his life. Time to get that result and settle this down.
Mr. Gibbs, this court has determined that you are her father.
That's it.
Miss Davis knows that too much lovemaking with random guys has landed her in paternity court. But for the sake of her son, Javion, she is ready to go down this ride. So, with 4 potential fathers on the list, Davis v. Smith started like this.
Mr. Smith, you argue that Ms. Davis actually told you were not her son's father. And you say you just had a brief sexual relationship and you don't want to take care of a child that isn't yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
The mother also grew up without a father. All of her childhood went from jumping from one foster home to another, and the pain of being unwanted was clear on her face. Even the judge knew how desperate this mother was.
Well, practically a hoe of myself when I was of that age.
It's okay.
And it just means everything to me for my son to know who his father is. I mean, my son's my world. I would do anything for that little boy.
But things were not this simple, as the mommy herself had told the defendant that he was not the father. And we all know how that spell works. Now he was sure that he wasn't the father. This brought us to the conception calendar, which had an accurate, explicit timeline.
You all basically spend a solid week being intimate. Were you using protection?
No, Your Honor. It was just a fling or, a holiday fling,
Apart from the ex-boyfriend, all of this was from the chat line. The baby mama got in touch with them and chatted a bit, and then you know what happened. The shocker was that Miss Davis didn't even remember the name of the fourth potential father.
Potential father number 4. Who is that?
He was a one-night stand. I don't remember his name.
After having this experience that you voluntarily participated in, you're not feeling too good about yourself.
No, I mean, I know I made mistakes, Your Honor. I don't consider my son a mistake.
That's a good thing.
Next, it was revealed that after getting a hardcore denial from the ex-boyfriend, the plaintiff started her daddy hunt, which showed the first 2 contenders were not the father. That left the defendant and the no-name guy in the potential father's run.
So now we're left with Mr. Smith and potential father number 4. Now I remember you saying with potential father number 4, you don't know where he is.
I don't even know his name, Your Honor.
You don't even know his name. Wow.
The irony was that even though Miss Davis believed Mr. Smith was the baby daddy, still, he wasn't her best pick, because the guy was a total mama's boy. Well, you should have considered that before messing around with him. But nonetheless, that guy needed to step up.
You slept with her for a week or more right during the window of conception. So you have to acknowledge that, right?
Yes, Your Honor. But I still feel like he doesn't look like me or favor me whatsoever, Your Honor.
Have you met Javion?
Yes, I only met him once, Your Honor. I felt kind of scared, Your Honor, because I felt like he didn't know me and I felt like a total stranger, Your Honor.
Well, that is how any normal child acts around strangers, sir. I mean, both parents were in the same state. Still, the guy made no effort to connect with his potential child. But in Mr. Smith's opinion, Mommy is a gold digger, only in it for the money. The judge schools him for not being there for him.
What if she just wants to know who her child father is after she admittedly made a lot of mistakes?
Yes, Your Honor. I want to know because I never had a father because he died when I was 3 years old of prostate cancer.
So it is important to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
If it's determined that Javion is your son, I'm sure you want to be there for him.
Yes, Your Honor. I want to make up for the 2 years I missed.
2 years of mystery have brought Javion's mother here, as none of the men filled the paternity void, which left her no choice but to force the alleged for a test. Let's see if the result will end her search.
Mr. Smith, you are not Javion's father.
Wifey here refuses to add another woman's child to her family because she thinks so. Miss McLean is using the one night of passion to pin someone else's baby on them.
You say your daughter is the product of a night of passion gone wrong, and you are certain Mr. Strong is the father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, this paternity dispute is the result of a consensual threesome. Yeah, it was a proper mix of confusion. The shocking part was that it was the idea of Mrs. Strong. She convinced her reluctant husband to take such a swing.
We had a threesome, had a good time that night. We discussed everything beforehand of what, possibilities could be.
What possibilities?
She did get pregnant, of which we were under the understanding there was a medical reason she couldn't.
Okay, that was a little hard to comprehend. They had everything planned, so they were very thorough, and it was revealed that they did it more than once, and even continued after the birth.
2.5 to 3 weeks after we had our very first threesome, I found out I was pregnant.
And you said you had 8 of them?
Correct.
So you were still having threesomes with them through your pregnancy?
And after.
Well, it makes sense that she was claiming that Mr. Strong was the father. The only downside was that Miss McLean was dating someone else at the time and ruled him as the father first.
We were, I don't know how to explain it, we were a very passionate couple, I guess. We had intercourse a lot. So I'm not thinking, okay, maybe 1 or 2 times with them.
But 1 or 2 times before you found out you were pregnant?
Right, they would have been the dad. I thought the gentleman I was with at the time was the father.
Further, it was revealed that the other guy was an African man, but the baby looked nothing like him. Plus, he was already tested, and it was proven that he wasn't the father.
So, regardless of race, he's ruled out.
Yes.
Were you there at the hospital when the baby was born?
We didn't know the baby was born. We heard from a third party that she had had her. We weren't even notified.
Even after that, the defendant contacted the Strongs right out of the blue, asking them to step up for the baby, which they did, regardless of the obvious doubts in their heart. While Miss McLean explained herself like this.
My daughter has a lot of Douglas's tendencies. Holding on her ears when she's tired or she's frustrated, Douglas does that. His yabba dabba doo feet, the Flintstone feet that he has, my daughter has. His laugh, my daughter has that laugh.
It was the defendant waiting for a while that instigated the dispute, because the couple was stepping up either way. They loved the baby and took her in as theirs.
If this is positive, and they already call her their sister.
That's a beautiful little girl. You opened this case because you said you don't believe.
There's a 50-50 chance because I see a lot of features that could be mine, and then I also see a lot of features that aren't mine. See, I'm part Hispanic family. I mean, I do have a little bit of Irish in me. I mean, I'm just trying to be certain because I grew up without a father.
Regardless of their dynamic, all of them were concerned about the child. The Strong family wanted to be done with every ounce of doubt, as they couldn't shake off the medical accident or another potential daddy part.
She said she had an accident, which we knew about the accident, that she couldn't have children from. That's what we looked at. Otherwise, we would have used other protection.
And so once Angel got here, you said this innocent little baby deserves nothing less than our love and our support, and we welcome her into our family.
Yes, Your Honor.
All of this sounds very big to them, right? Well, they wouldn't be in this situation if they hadn't gone for the three-way. So the judge asked Mrs. Strong what made her go for such wild ventures. And the reply was this.
This is fun for you, huh, Ms.
No,
Strong?
it is not fun for me at all.
No, I'm talking about the threesomes.
I'd rather him do it with me than behind my back.
Oh!
Okay. Before they made me look bad, most of the threesomes were her idea.
They were.
That's what I felt like.
That's what I'm saying. Like, before I get looked like a jerk or something. Like.
So Wifey had all the things played out to control her husband. In her mind, every man wants to cheat, but she would rather let him do it in front of her. Wow, quite manipulative, don't you think?
If it's determined that Angel is your husband's biological child, what happens in your relationship? Does the dynamic get weird? What happens?
I have absolutely no issue.
But in this case, the three of you are intimate and the baby was made with you in the bed.
A gift from God is how I'm gonna look at her.
Huh, that's a lot of forward thinking, which was good for the baby girl. I'm not sure how this trio is going to manage. So before going to the envelope, the judge asked the baby mama if they should look out for paternity surprises. Ms. McLean negated. So let's see what happens then.
When it comes to 14-month-old Angel McLean, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Strong, you are not the father.